racial tension around the globe, and specifically the ongoing racially driven incidents that continue to plague college campuses, we at Talk It Out want to continue the conversation on the ongoing issue. Today, we are joined with Bria Hammonds and Lucia Gonzalez. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves a little bit?
Sure. My name is Bria Hammonds, and I'm here because I helped plan and organize a rally that took place standing in solidarity with Mizzou and college campuses across the nation.
And I'm Lucia Gonzalez, and I am a part of MECHA, which stands for Movimiento Estudiantil Chicana and Chicano de Aztlán. And we have also helped with events on campus, such as the die-in, which happened at last year's Christmas tree lighting.
Nice. So with all the incidents that have recently been happening on colleges' campuses like Yale, Missouri, UCLA, do you guys think that those sort of incidents happens here at LMU?
There are certain things that you do and don't even realize they're microaggressions or that you're singling people out. Like, when you're, like, personally, I've been in a class and we're talking about slavery, and then my professor's like, Bria, and yeah, can you give your points on that? And then I'm like, oh. Now I have to sum up what everyone thinks about slavery in like 2 minutes, and it's like so much pressure, and you're like, I have to say everything correctly because at this point I'm representing the entire black community to my class and to my teacher.
So many people say things and so many people do things that they don't even realize are offensive.
Mm-hmm. I think we have classes like history class, we have diversity class, and yes, we're discussing about it, but it's like kind of on a superficial level. I think that it's definitely our job to talk to our friends about it. My friends and I talk about this surprisingly a lot.
And I often talk to my Chicano Studies friends about these issues because they often pertain to us because we are people of color. But when I speak to other people who are not people of color about these issues, I get categorized as the angry Chicana, the bitter brown person. Why are you bringing this up again? Like, just ignore it, stop talking about it, get over it kind of attitude, which is really interesting. Like, have any of you experienced that?
There are still people who shut their eyes away from that. They don't want to hear it and because they feel it doesn't affect them. Or even in the Bay, they say, oh, well, we're so diverse here.
You're going to hate what I'm about to say, and I it's fine. I'm going to say it. I personally, it's really hard to defend me in a lot of senses, like, and the thing is, like, my family has been oppressed. Like, we had to leave, like, the continent of South Africa because of how, like, racist people were. We got kicked out of our houses. Like, for some reason, I just, like, don't get offended, and that's why sometimes it's hard for me to understand why people will make a comment and be like, why did you say that? That was just really offensive. It's like, it's a joke, but I guess, like, you shouldn't. Do you feel like people shouldn't be making jokes about race? That this should be definitely only something taken seriously?
I think that there definitely is the question of whether it's okay to make jokes about race with your friends or with other people who aren't, and which one is, appropriate. But I think that it all depends on who you are around and being very conscious of your surroundings.
I feel like most of the time people just automatically assume. They don't really ask, and that's why it comes off. They don't mean to be like offensive, but that's why it comes off as offensive because they just assume. Like, for my personal experiences here at LMU and like my communications class, like, someone just assumes and automatically categorizes me as the Mexican girl, and I'm like, I'm not even Mexican. Like, I'm Guatemalan, completely two different complete countries. Or I've also like had a lot of experiences where like they think like just because I'm Hispanic, like I'm an immigrant. I don't have my citizenship. I'm just like, you're wrong. Like, I just feel like, we have a lot of cultural like clubs here at school, and like they each have their own like events that they put up, and they invite everyone else. But I feel like one suggestion I have for those groups is that they should definitely get together and do sort of like a cultural diversity mixer where you not only like celebrate, but you actually like inform them of like cultural backgrounds and what you guys actually represent. I feel like that's important. So you get the facts, so that way it sort of reduces people like assuming that you do this because you're that, or you're this because you're that.
Well, for me, last year when coming in as a freshman and I got my roommate, I like posted a picture with her on Instagram and things like that. And she's black, she's Ghanaian American, and she people like would see the picture and be like, wow, you have a black roommate? And it would be as subtle as like an eyebrow raise. Yeah. And they'd be like, wow, that's like perfect for you. And I'd be like, what does that mean? And they'd be like, well, you're so like loud and like crazy and fun. And I'm like,
I'm just gonna go at it again.
Okay.
go for it.
Do you guys think that all stereotypes are bad then? Do you think there just shouldn't be any stereotypes with culture, with race, gender, anything?
I don't think that we can diminish, like, remove them now because they're there. But when it's to the point where you just see someone and have all these stereotypes that come to mind and you expect them to play into that, like you guys have twerk parties and this and this and this, that allows you make a race, a gender, whatever the case is, you make them monolithic. They're all one. They all play basketball, or they all do, they all do the same thing, kind of. And there are people who are African American, or people who are of other minorities that haven't grown up in their cultural setting.
So, okay, I think obviously there's stereotypes for a reason, and that's because, they will say, a Mexican will be like, let's go get Chipotle. Like, oh, you're Mexican, of course you're gonna want Chipotle. You want a burrito. And no, I'm getting there. And it's just like, the reason they say that is because culturally that's where the food maybe derives from, and a lot of them eat that, or like they say, black people like chicken and what's a Kool-Aid? Is that what the stereotype is? And that might just be because a lot of them do. And
I love fried chicken and Kool-Aid. So
I think those, especially like the food stereotypes and stuff, come from, there's different cultures that have different foods to go along with them, but there are people who've never even have been black and don't only make chicken, or black and don't even, I got roommates who's never had Kool-Aid because their mom didn't like sugar, Black culture in America is so interesting because it was something that kind of derived here. Like, a lot of times when people say burritos and Hispanic or Mexican American, that's not necessarily something that was made. That's not a dish that came from Mexico.
For me, I'm Indian, and I go out now and in Forever 21 and I'm shopping and I see a bunch of very Indian looking jewelry, and everyone's wearing their bindis at Coachella, and I'm like,
oh,
okay.
Or you're
what do you think about that?
Yeah, and now it's all I think it's pretty. It is pretty. It looks really nice, and I get Indian culture is very colorful and nice, but I think it when you just wear something ignorantly and I don't know, I think it's definitely culturally appropriating it, because you're taking something that means it's significant to a culture and then westernizing it, and now it's cool now. There used to be times back in the 70s and 80s here in America when women couldn't wear their bindis. They were called dot busters because they would get attacked or racial slurs thrown at them because they were walking around in bindis, and that's a significant part of our culture. So now that non-people of color have started wearing them, and it's fashionable, now it's cool, when it's always been something that's been part of my culture. Anything that is Western is it gets top priority. I mean, for example, the attacks that happened 2 weeks ago in Paris, the same day there were attacks all over the world in different parts of the country, or different parts of the globe. But of course, the one that was in the Western world was the one everyone was changing their profile pictures to France flag. Everyone was, and that's not to say what happened was not a tragedy. It was terrible. But the same day, things happen in Kenya, things happen in Lebanon. No one, but everyone dismisses that as, it's the third world. It's just brown people dealing with their issues. What's new?
I feel maybe here on campus we should probably host not interventions but safe groups where people can come and share their feelings, experiences from both sides, so we can understand, because again maybe they're saying these racial claims, but again they don't mean it, but we need to understand why, and we can educate them in this safe place so it doesn't happen again.
We actually do have something like that. We have I believe it's called the National Dialogue on Race, and what's very problematic about how it's been hosted here is that it is open to everyone, but you go to this event, and I've gone to this event, and the only people there are people of color, people who are directly affected by these issues, and then it's where's everyone else that isn't? Why are they not here? Why don't they want to participate in this, talk about this? It's not that it hasn't been advertised, because it has. So then the next question would be what are we not doing? Or what do we need to do to encourage more people to come here and talk about these issues?
Definitely we need to reach out to them, because they're not going to be coming by themselves, for sure.
But I mean, that is being done. I mean, it's being advertised.
You need to grab someone by the hand and be
which is sad.
That's the society we live in, and the only way we can change that is by these small little groups coming together and being we're going to make a change, and how we make a change is we're going to go out there and speak to people. We can't expect them to come to us, because there's a reason they're not coming to us, and that's why these these things are still happening. And yes, it's sad that they're not coming, but that's like the only way is to go up and like, listen, this is what I go through. You need to hear this. You need to be educated.
Especially right now, I think, with all the, racial discrimination and the aggressions that's going on all different college campuses, I think now more than ever, the administration needs to get involved because you can't just leave it to the student groups anymore because it's affecting a large number of people. And like you said, like how much is one group going to do to like reach out to the whole campus? It has to come from the higher ups. It has to come from the institution.
That was one of the things when I started organizing the rally. One of my biggest things was I did not want it to be associated with the Black Student Union. I did not want it to be Black Student Union puts on, and not because I have anything against Black Student Union or a member of Black Student Union. It was that when you put that label on things, you can say BSU sponsors standing in solidarity with you. Other students get scared and say, "Whoa, it's Black Student Union. Like I don't think I can go to that." And I was talking to I'm in an advocacy and activism class currently, and my teacher actually graduated from LMU, and said, as a white woman, when there were events that were responsible at BSU, I would want to be invited to know that is this something that you guys want to be focused on by yourself? Because it's okay if you guys this needs to be a space where the Black community comes together and focuses on something. But when you do add that name, it kind of creates this, other students aren't welcome. And that was one of the things I really wanted to fight against because I wanted to be not just a Black student issue, a student issue on this campus.
I think it's really important for Greek life to have conversations about it too. Quite honestly, I don't think Greek life is the most diverse. LMU definitely is much more diverse than I've ever seen in any other campuses to my knowledge. But there's still a long way to go, and Greek life needs to foster that. They need to encourage these kinds of conversations, just like Greek life does the LMU Cares program, which is good. They're spreading awareness about sexual assault and consent, and race, I think, should also be one of the things they talk about, because it's things like the cultural appropriation, like with blackface. There have been issues very recently about in like different sororities and fraternities, like discrimination about blackface, and there needs to be awareness about that. There needs to be a conversation about that, and I think Greek life definitely should be included in this.
Do you guys think that people should be colorblind, or do you think that people should still acknowledge race?
I think, being colorblind just kind of is, like, okay, I don't want to look at it, like, it's fine, everyone's the same. I mean, to me, that's not a solution. Like, real progress would be celebrating everyone's individuality, because race exists. Like, we all come from different places. We're all, we have different races and different ethnicities, and that's, what makes our world beautiful, I think.
My race is something that there's been struggles in my culture, struggles in my ethnicity that I have inherited, and I have faced, and I've faced head on. And then to say that, oh yeah, none of that matters anymore. We're all equal. No, we're not. We're really not all equal right now.
I feel like not acknowledging someone's culture is sort of a form of oppression, because I feel like then you're stripping away their traditions, their beliefs, their morals that, they strongly believe in. So I feel like I don't think that's a solution. I mean, it might be the easiest solution because we'll all be equal, but I feel like it's not really an actual solution. And for example, like we don't have any laws, and we're not gonna have laws that says like you can't be racist, you can't be ignorant, right? Like that's just not gonna happen. So what we need to do is, again, like we've been talking about, we just need to educate ourselves and educate others.
I have a huge problem with that and not speaking up on when I do feel offended, because I am trying to not always be the Black girl that's speaking out about race, or I feel like that's something that a lot of people of color do. But once it kind of perpetuates the problem, but then again, no one wants to be deemed as that token, angry person all the time.
I mean, I've had people in my classes here. I had a race and contemporary America class last semester, and there were people there that we talked about white privilege, and they were like, that doesn't exist. Wow. It does not exist. And I'm like, well, maybe because you never experienced it. That means you're from a place of privilege. That's because it's working for you. And like you said earlier, in our country, there are people that are systematically disadvantaged. It's not just a couple of like stereotypes. I mean, that has fed into how our government works, and it could be as simple as an employer looking at two resumes, seeing the name John and Jose, and going with John.
Keeping this conversation going, let's check in with Sarah Litz, who's going around campus to get further opinions on this topic. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Stacy. With racial tensions top of mind for college students across the country, after incidents at Mizzou, Claremont McKenna College, and even here at LMU, we wanted to give students a chance to voice their opinions on the subject. Some of what students had to say may surprise you. Can you talk to me a little bit about your experience of racial tensions or non-existent racial tensions here on campus?
The reason I even came here was because this felt like home, in the sense that wherever I go, I feel like I'm welcome. And you don't get that everywhere. I know that for a fact. You don't get that everywhere. I know since the activities at Mizzou, the racial tension that's been spreading across the nation because kids were discriminated at Mizzou, it's been felt here in terms of standing up, I guess, for rights of all minority people, no matter what skin color, what race, no matter who's standing up for who. I know they've tried to do things on this campus that have been supported, and that really shows how LMU goes above and beyond to support the rights of all people. I couldn't be more proud to be on this campus because of that. So, not racial tension, the opposite, racial promotion I've seen on this campus, that's a really good thing. That's a good thing. And when I graduate from here in May, I can look back and tell others that Loyolan Marymount is a place of racial inclusiveness. And if you really want to feel a community sense, you should come here.
I don't think it's really in your face and people are really nice, but when I go on Yik Yak, it's a whole different story. There's this whole black-white conflict thing, but I don't feel like in person there is.
It's not so much of individualized racism, I would think, not so much like in like relation or social spaces, more so like institutional racism, like the fact that we don't have a lot of African alumni or African American faculty that are implemented in so many different departments on our college campus in so many different departments. So we want to have more of that, not just in the AFAM department, but in the sciences, in the liberal arts, in the TV and film, so on all platforms. So we have students who have a person to look to as guidance and someone that they can resonate with. We also want more like African American students to come to this campus, not just from private schools, but from all over the community in Los Angeles and abroad and in other states as well. And just to put more emphasis on taking classes that promote diversity and cultural awareness of other people's issues, and just to make sure that we understand that whites on campus should be more open to discussion and be more aware of their privilege.
I'm from the South, so race is a lot different in the two places. I think here it's a lot more relaxed nowadays. Like there's a lot less tension, whereas in the South a lot of time it's still like it's segregated, like not on purpose, just because it's how things are. So I think on campus really there's not a whole lot of diversity here. There's a good amount, but there's not as much as there could be.
Have either of you experienced racial tensions yourself, or know someone on campus who has felt this way specifically?
I feel like everyone knows somebody who's experienced it. I know particularly a group of students who tried to get into parties out the back gates after lip sync, and they were turned away from like 3 or 4 parties. And by the 4th party, it was clear it was just because they were a large group of African American students.
Sometimes, like people who are born here, especially for Asian Americans, tend to be, generally speaking, easier to be accepted. Because I mean, for me and my friend standing right over there, like we were born and raised up in China, so like we totally grew up in different cultures. So it definitely took a lot of time for assimilation. People generally think that like Northeast Asians are good with science, good with math, but the thing is like that stereotype. Although I mean, some of me and my friends, we started learning mathematics when we were like very young, and we finished our calculus test when we were like 16 or 17 and stuff. But it doesn't really mean that we actually like say we are into that kind of stuff. Applying racism to everybody and say that like you hate a specific group is just going to generate more hate. And quoting Dr. MLK, hatred doesn't really work because hatred could only create more hatred. Love is the only solution. I guess that's pretty much like what I want to say.
And this may be just the beginning of a continued dialogue here on LMU's campus. To continue this conversation, check out the Loyolan special issue, both in print and online at laloyolan.com, on racial tensions both nationally and locally, by commenting online or sending in a letter to the editor. From all of student media, we'd love to hear from you. Back to you, Stacy.
Thanks, Sarah, and thank you, Bria, and thank you so much for joining us on the show.
And thank you guys for everything you do on campus. Like, thanks for, taking a stand.
And thank you guys for joining in today. That's all we have for today, but don't let the conversation end yet. In order to eliminate ignorance and naivety, we need to educate ourselves, listen, and continue to talk it out. Thank you for joining us, and happy holidays.